see my slides as well.
Not yet, but you can share your slides through share screen. There is a button, green button down in the screen named share. You can use it. Yes, now it's on the screen.
Okay, good. So, right. Now you can see clearly, is it?
Yes, but you should start the presentation now.
Okay. As for my title of my talk is Aneurysm Well. It's a single venture experience in the Department of Interventional Neuroradiology. In fact, we started doing intervention with simple coiling since 2004. And still we are practicing in more of the cases, just a simple without stand coiling or flow diverters or balloon assisted. So it's our main experience. And of course, the importance of my talk is to highlight the importance of aneurysm coiling with assisted technique.
Dr. Umair, can you please keep your mic near to your mouse, please?
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. In fact, these are the 2 points which are very important, which helping me to selecting patient for simple coiling. One is peri-aneurysmal environment, on which we have to assess the size, shape changes, and acute ruptured aneurysm particularly. And it helps us selecting the coils accordingly, and which I could show you different shapes of the aneurysms targeting on MCA. You could see how many shapes it changes in different individuals. Secondly, with the advancement of different coil shape of many types, and coming with spent coils, soft coils, ultra soft coils, you can easily play with the simple coiling, which we are doing it for many years now. So far, what we are selecting the patient with mild neurological deficit, subrecurrent hemorrhage from another aneurysm. Between 2004 to 2018, we have done more than 7,000 patients with unruptured aneurysms.
Sorry?
Between 2004 to 2018,
Dr. Umair,
yeah.
Your slides is freezed. Can you please share your slides, not desktop, your presentation?
Okay. As in selection of patients, as I've told you, some are with neurological deficit, some with subrecurrent hemorrhages. Between these years, 2018, we have treated so far 7,000 patients, and mean age remains at 50 years. So, okay. As I've told you, I mean, peri-aneurysmal architecture is very important. So we compared with some interesting characters. You could see this aneurysm along the MCA after the rupture, giving a total different picture and giving like a merged Simpson shape. So you could see in this picture pre and after coiling, you can do it safely with the simple coils. So this is another shape which could get it on after the subrecurrent hemorrhage. It's a U shape. If you are clear what are you doing it for these aneurysms, if you are clear about the peri-aneurysmal architecture, you can safely decide the shape of the coils with the new advancement in the coils, and accordingly you can plan coiling these. So this is another case. There is a U shape and how we coil coiling. So this is a holy grapes sort of a look. And
Dr.
yeah,
still the slides is freeze. Please try to
slide
correct it.
freezing.
Yes, because
But that could be because of our net issue in Pakistan. But in fact, we are doing.
Hello, Umair.
Yeah, yeah. Hello. No, it's
Yeah,
okay.
yes, it's okay, but not yet.
we can hear you very well.
Okay. Thank you. According to, because we have some net issues here in my setup, this is another which I have shown you, the holy grape sort of a shape. And this again changes according to perianeurysmal. And generally the people go for stent-assisted flow diverter, but we did the simple coiling.
Umair.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry. Still, the slides are not on the screen because
slides are not in the screen.
Just sharing the desktop and the file of the aneurysm coiling Lahore 2019. However, the slide itself is not apparent on the screen. It's not shown up on the screen. So please try to use share again, share and share the slide itself.
Share.
After opening the slide.
Just a minute, and I hope we can do it.
Yes. Again.
Yes, we can. Now, the green wala thing. This is.
Just share the slides from share screen. Share the slides. You will have after clicking on the share button. You will have different options, and one of these options is sharing your opened slide files.
It's the slide files. Okay.
I'm sorry?
Yeah. Now.
Yes. Now it's on the screen. So start to make it. Yes.
Now you can see the slides?
Yes, we are seeing the slides. Just click on the full screen.
Make it in the full screen.
Yes. Now your slide on the screen. Thank you so much.
Okay. So what about the previous slides? I have to show you again, or I can start it from here?
Start it, please.
Sorry?
You can start again, please.
Okay, okay.
Thank you so much.
In fact, of course, you know it, I have to highlight the importance of simple coiling with assisted technique. But the most important, why I do so, because of aneurysmal environment. You know, I mean, because of this size and shape changes acute rupture aneurysm. You will see in the following slides how it changes with very architecture. Secondly, why I choose the simple coiling, because luckily with the time, there is a much advancement of different shapes of the coil and their softness or ultra softness. So on that basis, we are still doing the aneurysm coiling without assisted, most of the cases. As I've mentioned this slide, we have done 7,000 cases without coiling since 2004, and mean age, of course, remains the 50 years. So as already told you before, but again, I have to show you these slides. You could see different shapes. I'll show you different shapes, taking the MCA artery aneurysms, how it comes, changes with the perianeurysmal architecture after the subnephroid hemorrhage. So as this Merch Simpson, and it's giving you this sort of shape, and you can safely decide the type of coil which you can fit with this aneurysm, which we did it on the right side, you could see after the coiling. So it's another drop shape. So although it's very difficult to do it without stent-assisted technique, but if you're comfortable with selecting the proper coil for it, you can safely do it, which we did it, and it worked very well. So it's another holy grape sort of a look. Again, I mean, this is a case that people will think to put a stent-assisted technique, or they will be scared of it could be a recurrence after the coiling. So or even somebody could think about the flow diverter, but I feel this can be done without assisted technique, which we did it. It's a few years back picture. And after coiling, you could see there is no more aneurysm, significant aneurysms there. So it's another pear shape. So, I mean, if you are clear what are you doing it and you are clear about the shape of aneurysm, in few cases, not in every case, we do 3D angiogram as well to select to see the neck, to see the associated different vessels, and then we decide to do this simple aneurysm coiling. Again, this is a very odd looking sort of a bilobed, sort of a or Russian matrosa appearance, because these shapes definitely goes with it. And then accordingly, you can have a different shape of coil using for this odd looking aneurysm, which is quite confusing otherwise what to do and how to do. So this is a helmet. Helmet nowadays very important in my country too, but they can't drive motorbike without using it. But this helmet could help this shape. It present in a perianeurysmal architecture after the bleed. You could see there's a bleb along with the aneurysm, giving you a look of helmet shape. So accordingly, again, it could help selection of the simple coiling. And sometimes, but we do it in difficult cases in the broad neck. We use relatively bigger caliber microcatheter. It could give you a spot not to have a first coil ring to come out. So it definitely give a good result. This is a bulb. This is quite tricky. This is an aneurysm where you can't be comfortable and you feel that there could be a migration of coil if you don't do the assisted technique. But as I've told you, after the 3D selection of the proper coil, softness, and sometimes you have to use a microcatheter moving here and there to make the first ring very finely, and then you can fill this aneurysm simply with simple coiling. So ellipse shape, again, very difficult. In fact, when we decide, we thought to do it stent technique, for that matter, when antiplatelets, then we able to reach. We just attempted first to make the simple plan. So, but it was very well, and you see before and after. In fact, yeah, this is a very interesting. I mean, sometimes spherical shape aneurysm, it is, I feel, it is quite easy to do the simple coiling. You have to be careful which aneurysm is important and which we did it. We try to do it because this is a partly, there is a spherical aneurysm and there was an AVM as well. Initially, we treated this spherical aneurysm with a simple coiling, and then we tried to access for the AVM, which was we could see along the anterior cerebral artery. This is another very interesting sort of thing which very difficult to use the assisted technique when you find more than 2, 3, 4 aneurysms. So what we did it in this case, there were 4 aneurysms and there is an element of vasospasm, which was not a case to decide for doing an assisted technique. So what we did it on the same sitting. You could see on the right side already coiled aneurysm on the same sitting. Then we did the other one, the right MC aneurysm, and there was another aneurysm which at the A2A3 we did it, and it was very well, which you can't do it with the assisted technique. So I feel in most of the cases, if you do in the right time selection of the right coils of assess the proper assessment of the sac and neck, you can safely play coming up coils. So same picture, doing the all 4 coils, and patient went okay. I mean, although it was my first so far the case, which we did in one sitting 4 aneurysm in the same patient. So after these are the some residual, we have to look for in one aneurysm. We didn't pack the all aneurysm that much. In few cases, this remain residual, but the more important is safety of that patient. And we followed it up for 1 year or two, and the patient didn't turn up. But after 1.5 years, patient was absolutely fine, although he had some element of had a hemiparesis of one side because of vasospasm that happened before. So overall, without giving antiplatelets or so, and just doing simple coiling, it worked very well. So multiple aneurysm, I can, I'm sure about these aneurysm. When you think about two aneurysm, three aneurysm, four aneurysm, I think it's better to do the simple coiling, which we are doing it, and with gradually because I'm working in a center. Most of the patients from the periphery, from the distant areas, they are coming my place. And there is another thing which I want to add it. If you do this aneurysm on the second day, it will behave totally different. If you don't get a chance to do it on the second day, if you do it on after 10, 14 days, the shape of the aneurysm to perianeurysmal architecture, it will be totally changed. So even this change could help to the patient. And everyone, you know it, after the aneurysm bigger than 4 5 mm, it has to increase in size. So size and perianeurysmal architecture could help you a lot to play with the simple coiling, which we are doing it. Here, one aneurysm looks like a dissecting aneurysm, other looks like a M1, M2 junctions aneurysm, and it looks one should play something assisted technique on one side, and other side one could sacrifice one artery, but we haven't done it like this. We just coiled it. The only thing which happened, patient was quite critical. We are not able to do in one session totally packing for many reasons. What we thought, if we will on follow-up after 6 months or 1 year, if patient improves, age was 72 or 4 something. If patient remains okay, we just make it a follow-up for 6 months and then later on. So far we didn't touch because the size of the aneurysm didn't increase after 6 months or 1 year. So we make it follow up to 2 years generally in our practice. So whatever we have result now, 80 patients were successfully coiled without assistive technique. The other thing which is favorite in our setup is flow diverter. When the flow diverter came in the market, initially we are not accessed to have these flow diverters in our setup because of its price. But sometime with time period, the awareness among the patients now and the doctors, they start talking about the flow diverters in our setup. Generally, we for the cavernous aneurysm, cerebral aneurysm, cerebrovascular aneurysm, we try to give the flow diverters. But again, if we find this aneurysm could be done without flow diverter with the simple coiling, I still prefer, and we are still doing it. In our practice, in early days, in cases, we tried partial coiling. It was disaster. Then we stopped doing after a few cases. And this is generally we do it up to the large aneurysms, in particularly the fusiform aneurysms where we can't do anything. Then we have to keep the flow diverters. So in our whole practice, there are two things which we are start doing it. One is simple coiling, we are still doing it. And with the new coming up the coils and all shapes, it is helping us a lot. And sometimes, very interesting, I just want to add one thing. Sometimes we do 2% management. I mean, how I can explain you? I mean, it's just like that. One is controlling the microcatheter here and there in the sac of the aneurysm, particularly the relatively bigger aneurysm. The other guy play with the coil putting in. It could help like assistive technique, and it worked very well. It worked very well, and still we are doing in few of cases that sort of a thing. In other cases, flow diverter, yes, it's our choice of treatment in our setup in the cerebral or cavernous aneurysm. There are 5% with stent assisted coiling. I'm honestly sharing my experience. We've done very few stent-assisted coiling. Initially, we didn't touch it because of the cost. Now I feel I can safely handle these odd-looking coils. Recently, we just publishing one paper on our basilar aneurysm without using stent assisted, and with the 4 year experience, it worked very well. It is coming up in few months. So stent assisted, where so far we have done it more in MCA and very few, one or two cases in basilar artery aneurysms, and just one case which we couldn't succeed, that was intercommunicating artery. So in ACOM aneurysm, and the few cases which I haven't shown in my results, that you could say we didn't attempt it. We are not failure. We didn't attempt it. After doing angiogram, and if we find this aneurysm anteriorly directed aneurysms, so and there is a broad neck, and we have to make something a difficult approach like stent or something like flow diverter or we honestly give to our vascular neurosurgeons because clearly located they can handle as good as we are doing it. Same is for MC aneurysm, where they don't feel comfortable or they don't want to do it, and the patient is quite keen to have this aneurysm coiling. So we decide in that sort of cases where we are not interested to put a stent, where we are feeling it could be most costly and not getting that good results. Then we shared this patient with the neurosurgeons, and we are good vascular surgeons, and they are quite honest in it. And if they don't do it, they ask us to share it, and this vice versa. So that sort of experience we are having it in our setup. And you could see from slide, it's not that specific, but I can tell you there is a failure rate. Failure rate, even we decided can, just on angiogram, we have done CT or so, and we found we just have to do a angiogram and then to decide, then we said, no, we can't do it. We don't touch it. We try to play a very safe game, except on those cases who are dying or their GCS score is quite down. Then we try to give the simple coiling. And in those patients, definitely we can't do the assisted coiling. Sometimes you just have to do the coiling to avoid any complication in initial stage in the acute phase. Then of course we do the simple coiling. And so this is, the other thing is procedural complications. Generally, we found this complication is more with the broad neck aneurysms. Yes, it could happen. There is a migration of small coils. Again, as I've emphasized before, if you are properly assessed, the coil which you have to use on 3D, if you do the 3D, so these sort of complication remains very less. Again, mortality rate, if you select the patient is already dying or something like this, I didn't include those patients. I'm talking the patient is walking, patient is relatively comfortable, except headache due to subsequent hemorrhage, then we could say it happened to us that during the procedure there is some vasospasm developed which we couldn't handle it. There is a thromboembolic phenomena which couldn't help it. But although we do treat the stroke cases, and there are few cases where we have to treat the stroke treatment along with the coiling. So these are very less, but we found it. And morbidity depends upon when you are doing it. In our setup, it's a different from the Europe, and I'm sure from the Middle East in 12 Middle East countries. Generally, the patient in our setup now start coming up in within 4 hours, not 24 hours, in 48 hours, and honestly speaking. So we are having a wonderful results. Sometimes the patients come, the time crosses, and coming from the village, having a severe vasospasm, and then we are being asked to treat those patients. Those patients, we get a lot of morbidity because already having effects of vasospasm and old age. If the patient is old age, then it could give sort of this more thing. If there is no existing issues are there, it's not that. Follow-up results, this is very important. The generally people discuss this sort of issue. Okay, how you feel after doing, there is a recurrence rate is much higher using not the assisted coiling, not using the stent, not using the balloon, not using the something else. But we generally do clinical follow-up up to 6 months with MRI, and after 2 years or generally after 2 years, if patient comes to us. Unfortunately, the patients are living in the peripheral regions too far from my center, so they don't turn up after 1.5 years. But generally, which we have done it, we have just published a study as well, followed up to 2 years. We generally do up to 2 years. After MRA, we give them a clearance. Okay, you just have to go with this thing. And if you are headache, you could have a CT scan. But if you feel some issue or if you feel uncomfortable, you could come after 2 years. So generally, which we face this problem uh, in the large aneurysms. Large aneurysms. We have found some recurrence rate, and in those cases, have recoiled. Still, we didn't use the centric technique. We used the recoil, where we see the inflection of the coils. But this is not frequent now. It's not frequent now. But if we say after 5 years, yes, we are facing this sort of a thing in the large aneurysm. So large aneurysm, where you could see the increase rate could happen. But the small or less than 8 millimeter, generally you don't find that complication. But if you talk about large, more than the 8 millimeters, yes, you could find. But very rarely we have seen it. I mean, if you could say that we have done 10 cases, one or two cases who get their recurrence. Now, this complication, this recurrence, this impaction of coils become quite low because of coming the new different shapes coil and different sizes coil. Discussions, as there are so many people, very few are in favor of doing the simple coiling, and I'm one of those. Uh, but at the same time, I'm not against the stent coiling, but I prefer to do simple coiling, or in some cases just simple flow diverters, particularly in the cerebrospinal or QT from aneurysm, where we can't do help of it. Yes, in few cases, we have to occlude the artery like a giant aneurysm. Then, of course, there's no need for putting stent or so. Then, of course, we just have to do the simple quelling, clear of the parent artery, which we do it in the giant aneurysm. Uh, about different shape aneurysm at different locations, yes, it changes. The people have different views. Talk about neck or sac ratio. Some people talk about the perforators along with aneurysm, hidden vessels, perforators. There are so many things you can share and discuss. But if you are properly doing that 3D, and in cases where you're confused, and the other thing, once you are confused, I could do the simple planning in my point, and I tell my colleagues, just forget it, don't do it. If you are confused, patient is not a guinea pig. If you can't do it, then just quit it and ask someone to do it if he's good in it, or you could go for the surgery if it is possible. So this is my practice, and for that reason, we have a wonderful result with the simple coiling. So conclusion, which is you could assess from my talk, due to different orientation of aneurysm after bleed, conventional coiling appears equally good, or you could say alternative, than coiling with assisted technique. The other thing, which is again, you can't replace assistant. Yes, who are comfortable, they should do it, and they are doing it. And the point which is against simple is recurrence. So far, in that experience, we have a very low recurrence rate, except few cases was done few years back when we are not comfortable with different coils. But now, for last 5, 6 years, our recurrence rate up to 2 years, at least up to 2 years, is really good. And secondly, if you don't see even residual after 2 years, it's very unlikely to get a recurrence in house aneurysm. Yes, in few cases where we feel we are not able to make the total packing, just with the hope the patient is called and we don't have to involve any perforator. Yes, there is, but this is seen particularly in the large aneurysm. So this is our experience, which I just want to share with you people. And I feel this still is can be done, and with time, because of knowing more about perianeurysmal architecture and which has the size and shape of the aneurysm. And secondly, with the development of the new files, so ultrasoft and finishing coils, whatever you name them, if the coils coming up, and the other thing which is very important, which we are practicing, in some time you use different type of microcatheters of size. If you have a broad neck, try to use a relatively bigger catheter. So it could help you a double catheter technique sort of a thing, or balloon assisted sort of a thing. So that is our practice, and so far we are quite comfortable, but we are doing with the analysis. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you can you able to hear me what I was sharing my experience. And Dr. Sama,
Yes, thank you, Dr.
yeah,
Umair, for your
thank you
fantastic
very much.
presentation.
Thank
And
you
I think
very much.
it's very convenient about the your scope about the and the belief also about the usage of the simple coiling in the first option in all cases, and you must keep to simplicity for treating any aneurysm until the situation can force you to use any other devices like stent assisted or balloon assisted or even flow diverter. So I think this is very important message that we should disseminate, that you should firstly start with simple way of thinking, and you guard against this simplicity until you realize that this simplicity is not working in your case. So you should start to change your decision plan, and maybe this is the point to use started to use as other stent assisted technique or a balloon assisted technique or even flow diverter, because you know that sometimes the more the devices inside the artery, the more complication you can have. So it's very interesting, and I think we can have some questions from the audience. And if anyone have any question, please raise your hand, and I will give you the floor to ask the question. So anyone have any question, please raise your hand. So Dr. Tamer, do you have any comment on this one?
Yeah, I'm very impressed with the shapes. I'm just wondering, are all of those patients you treat are ruptured patients, or you mix the ruptured and non-ruptured together? And if there is any kind of differences in the management, you build up your endovascular technique on if the patient is ruptured or non-ruptured?
Which I understand from your question. In fact, we were treating both ruptured and unruptured. But sometimes, if it is, as it is the literature, less than the 4 millimeter, I don't touch if it is not ruptured. But recently we have bad experience with 2, 3 cases which we didn't touch it less than 4 millimeter. They are ruptured after a few months because not being
No,
uh,
no.
uh,
Let me ask you the question by another way. If you have a patient with non-ruptured aneurysm, it's 8 millimeters, and you want to treat, and the patient has only headaches, do you use also simple coiling technique, or you shift in those patients to stent assisted or balloon assisted techniques because the patient is non-ruptured?
Okay, you're right, but in fact, this can be done. We give an option to the patient, but I tell my experience to the or share my opinion to the patient. Ki, look, I'm quite comfortable doing the simple coiling if I properly assess this aneurysm architecture. So generally, we do the simple coiling.
Okay, and do you use double microcatheter technique often? And do you consider this also as a simple technique, or you consider a special technique?
In
Double
fact,
microcatheter technique.
double microcatheter technique. I mean, I just modified that sort of a technique into different. Yes, I used to do it double microcatheter, but in fact, in this sort of a cases, what we do it where we feel we can easily access with the large caliber microcatheter. So we use. It play like a double catheter technique. It give you some surrounding, I mean, shorten the neck of the aneurysm. So then if you make a first curve of the coil safely, and then it's become very easy to put the simple coiling with the larger caliber catheter. It play like this. Otherwise, I don't use that much now, the double catheter.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Ahmed, Dr. Ahmed Sarhan, he was asking to have a question. So, Ahmed,
Yeah.
hello? Hello? Okay.
Yes.
So, Ahmed Sarhan. Okay. I have a question for you, Dr. Umair.
Yeah.
I'm asking about the sometimes you have a problem of incorporating a branch inside the aneurysm, especially from the point like middle cerebral artery bifurcation aneurysm, and in some situation you have the aneurysm incorporating one of the very viable branch supplying a very viable parenchyma, and in this situation simple coiling is very difficult to do the task. So what you recommend in this situation if you are concerning the importance of this branch coming from the aneurysmal sac or even aneurysmal neck?
Okay, I mean, of course, this is very important, particularly definitely important in MCA, M1, M2 junctions aneurysm. On the right side, if it is along the inferior trunk and you can easily access it, I try to prefer do the simple coiling. But just a day before yesterday, there was a case and it along the origin of middle trunk. So yes, we said patient is okay. We can postpone this patient with stent assisted technique. So in acute phase, we have very little experience. In fact, you could say giving a double dose or sort of just a 1 or 2 cases in the whole career. So I do it, but I do it when I feel there is a middle trunk particularly on the left side. I have to be very careful in all aneurysm on the left side. I always do 3D angiogram, and then I decide accordingly.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Umair. Any question? So I think I would like to thank you, Dr. Umair, for your presentation and your participation with us. And your presentation was very valuable for giving us more information about simple coiling techniques. And let's go to the next speaker. he is Mr. Shaki Sagis. He is a consultant in the Palt company, French, France, in medical consultant and product consultant. And his presentation will be about the importance and the tics and the